Welcome back to another episodes of Irons Overland. We've been out for a little bit. We both had vacations over Labor Day weekend, so we didn't get a scheduled time together. But today we're gonna talk about our little trip down to the Ozarks. So
Well,
you want?
for you,
Yep.
it was down. For me, it was up. So
Yeah, a nice 10-hour ride.
it was only about 4.5 for me. It was really nice.
Yeah.
So obviously, if you've been listening, you know that we missed an episode last week, and we had promises of doing the podcast in the Ozarks, and that didn't work out. And we also said we were going to videotape some of the trip, and that didn't work out very well either. We'll get into it a little bit farther why that didn't work out. It wasn't technical difficulties. It was, I guess, some interesting choices by us on the trails that ended us at camp a little later than we wanted to the night we were going to record, and all of us being extremely mentally and physically exhausted. And both of us actually left that night camp at about 2 o'clock in the morning to head home. That's just how dumb we were that day. So, like we kind of mentioned the past couple episodes, we took a trip to the Ozarks. We were in the Ozark Mountains on the Arkansas side. So we had a group of about, I'd say, 18 to 20 vehicles that had a whole beginner's trip. And I say that with air quotations right now because I was thinking it was going to be a little bit more than just gravel roads, nothing crazy. The night we got there, I left from Memphis about 2, which got me to the campsite at about 6-ish, 6:30. And Sean, you were there probably, 8 o'clock, something like that?
Yeah, 8 o'clock in the evening, and I'm gonna get into that too. Is going into an area with no cell service. I mean, we both know better. Should just the last text, possibly, before we lost service or anything, is maybe communicate on what channel we could have talked in, because reading the directions of where to go, like I go to it, and all of a sudden I'm like driving through somebody's campsite. They're all swimming in the creek, and then the trail ends. I'm like, all right, I get it. I got to cross the creek, but where? You can't see the other side because it's pitch black out.
So
I have no idea where to go.
I'm just going to preface this by saying there was a big Facebook Messenger group talk that was going on probably the last month and a half. We were given the GPX files to download into Gaia, and we're told the areas to go through. Some of us just might not have paid attention to that group chat as much.
I did. It's just when it's pitch black out and there's running wire, you don't know how deep it is or where the crossing point is.
I will say that we got really lucky. So since I left at 2 o'clock, there was a group. So this is a group that originates down in Memphis, and Sean was down here for a year, and he's in this group from that. And because I forced him to come into it so he could come on this trip with us. But so everybody was leaving from Tennessee, and Sean was the only one coming from Wisconsin, obviously. I left alone. It was me and my truck. My dad came with me. He rode shotgun with me. But there was a group that left at noon, and that was the large majority of the group that was leaving at noon. So we were going to miss being at the campsite with the group. We were going to get there after everybody, basically, me and Sean. Sean a little bit later, obviously. So we had a string of interesting events that led up to getting to camp myself. You know, Sean's, you were pretty straightforward until you got to the main entrance to it, and that was your downfall. But for us, I didn't stop to get beer the day before, which was a mistake because there's a lot of dry counties in Arkansas. So I was scrambling to find a liquor store just so I could have some beer. And
alcoholic beverages.
Adult beverages.
Yeah.
But so we stopped like 4 times on our way up, just at like a Walmart, a gas station, things like that. I didn't even get gas every time. It was just trying to find a county that wasn't dry. So we finally got up there, and now I did read the group chats, but this whole time we're driving up there, I was like, oh my gosh, I forgot they said that a main road in was closed, and I don't remember what road it was. And I kept telling my dad that, and he's like, we'll figure it out when we get there. We'll figure it out when we get there. Well, we figured it out when we got there because we showed up, and there was a big sign that said road closed after this next road. So we detoured And we had lost service at this point now. I thought there was going to be service a little bit farther in, but we lost it at this point. So we were using a map that had been previously downloaded, trying to find our route, and we ended up basically we ran into the group that had left at noon because they had car troubles on the road. One of the guy's tires fell off and he lost his ball joint. So they were on the side of the road for a couple hours, which let us catch up. And that's why my into the campsite was smooth because so where it gets confusing is that there's a campsite called Woolham that is there's an actual campsite there. And the spot we were getting to was across the river and a little bit farther west. But there's not really a good spot to see that you're in the campsite or not in the campsite. It's very vague in that area. And you had to drive probably a quarter of a mile down the shoreline to get to the river crossing to the campsite we were going to. So for us, it was easy because I ran into the group of 15 other vehicles and we were getting directed across where we were supposed to go. Sean came in as it was getting dark. I'd already had my campsite set up. Me and my dad were ready, an adult beverage in, and we're getting service randomly. So all of a sudden, I got a call from Sean, and it wouldn't let me pick up. And then I called him back, and it kept breaking up. I was trying to send text through, and it was just a shit show because by the time that I could have gotten to him, he was already pretty much driving up. Because I was going to walk down the shoreline, I really was. And I was like, he'll probably figure it out.
Well, the best part is following the Gaia or the GPX map that they gave us, where I actually ran into somebody else that crossed the river. It wasn't even at the crossing that they marked on on the map.
Yeah, it was. The map markers were a little confusing, and I will say that a problem with this bigger group. Now, this is the only. I'm not gonna say problem. There wasn't really problems. There was just a lot of stopping, but that's what led to this problem for me. So I am over prepared or what I don't know what you want to call it. I put my truck into 4-wheel drive right away as soon as I get off pavement, even if I don't need it, just because. And I put it into low because I knew we were going across the river. I didn't know how deep it was, and I saw there was a steep bank at the end, and I figured it was sandy. Well, lucky for me, I had it in 4 low because I was the last one in this group, and they stopped right at the top of it. So I was just sitting halfway on the embankment. Like my rear tires were in the water, my front tires were just on the sandbank. It was probably like a 45-degree angle. And we just sat there for 10 minutes so everybody kind of figured out what was going on. And I almost didn't get up because it was so sandy and so wet. My truck had sank in and I lost all my momentum. So that was a fun start for me, and Sean obviously rolling in at dark and being confused was a fun start. But it was that first night we slept on what was riverbed, but was basically an island when the river's high. So right now the Buffalo River is low, so there's a lot of dry spots. So we were in the middle of a river section that wasn't really there anymore. It'll be back in winter, springtime, but for us it was the end of summer, so there wasn't much water. And it was actually a really nice campsite because you could see the cliff sides, the stars. It was a beautiful night that night. So we set a fire, and I wasn't prepared to stay up as late as we did or have as many adult beverages that night as we did. I thought we were going to go to bed at like 10. Then we looked at the clock, and it was 1 o'clock in the morning, and everybody else around us was in bed, and their fires were out.
Yeah, we're just watching everyone's fires slowly go out here, there. It's like, all right, well, whatever. I'm not tired. How about you guys? Nope.
But we were the last to sleep and the first up. That's all I'll say.
Yep.
So that
comes
first
with the job.
Exactly. So that first night was besides getting there was actually very relaxing. And I'll be honest, since we got there so late, we just set up our campsite and we kind of parked away from most of the group because I try to get as far. I mean, I'm out camping. I want to be away from a big, large group. And there was a bunch of families and had kids and dogs and stuff. So I was like, okay, I'm just going to go over here and do my own thing. So we parked. I mean, we weren't too far. We were in eyesight, but we didn't really go talk to a whole bunch of people that night. We sat down, started cooking, and had our adult beverages, and enjoyed ourselves that night.
I mean, it was peaceful for the most part.
Mm-hmm. You got some really cool pictures of the stars, which is awesome.
Yeah, trying out the new, well, I guess it's older, but new to me, the night mode on the iPhones and be able to capture pretty much the Milky Way dust if you got a clear enough sky, which is kind of cool.
That's probably one of the best pictures I've seen of the night sky from just like us, not something crazy. And then we woke up, we started cooking our breakfast, and Sean made a best friend. Lucky for him, because you brought your dog with you. Which, ironically, I want to let everybody know that he drives a Silverado. His dog's name is Tundra, so just shows you where his priorities are. But
Uh, no comment.
but so there was kids obviously, and they saw the husky, and they wanted to be friends with him. So as we were finishing cooking and trying to pack our stuff up so we could get ready to go, Sean had a little shadow following him around, so he couldn't pack up as quickly. And it was very funny to me because I was done with all my stuff and we didn't bring a dog, so we weren't attention getters or anything like that.
Yeah, I mean, it kind of screwed up the morning a little bit, but it's always nice to be friendly and everything. But yeah, it's like, come on.
And so now this day, because we were only there for 2 nights, this day was the bad day. It was a good day. It was actually a good day, but it was a bad day. we we had this whole trail ahead of us, and they had the plan. There was about 5 or 6 points of interest they wanted to stop at. Well, we didn't realize that the first point of interest was literally like 200 yards away from where we camped. So it was a hiking trail. It was a really pretty hiking trail they went up to. It wasn't long, but I mean, we were here to take some trails, so we didn't really. We're like, oh, okay, I guess we'll just hang out here. So you've got such a large group, and as we've talked before, a large group kind of inhibits you from doing certain things that you want to do. Obviously, we couldn't just do our own plan because we had all these people and we're fulfilling all these people's wants. So there was a plan that we we're trying to stick to and go through. And I will say too that they had walkie-talkies amongst all of them, and me and Sean had our GMSR radios. So we were talking to each other, but not them. So they were trying to keep people behind us so that we wouldn't get lost. But the two people behind us ended up having an alternator issue and had to go to the parts store, and they basically didn't come back on the trail. So it left me and Sean at the end, and we didn't get lost, but we split off because it was just basic trails, and it was, like I said in the beginning, it was beginners group. I wanted to do the beginners one just because my Tundra is basically stock right now. I put a little 2.5-inch leveling kit, glorified strut lift on it before the trip, and I didn't know how amazing it would do compared to what we saw in Land Between the Lakes. But so we got bored. Our curiosity got the best of us. We let the group go ahead, and it was a great time. Me and him were stopping, taking pictures, going at our own pace. We're looking for some more stuff to explore. And their goal at the end of the trip was to end at a campsite, an actual campsite. So I was very vocal about not wanting to go to a campsite, and I kind of conned you into that. So we decided we were going to take some random trails and find a dispersed campsite because we were in a national forest. You got dispersed campsite rules. And we tried a couple of trails to start with, and those didn't really lead to anything. And then Sean found the black diamond of trails with no gatekeeper at the beginning, or the entrance we went in. And it got pretty rough. So it was not easy. It was not difficult, but there was some dips and stuff where we were not bottoming out, but we were hitting the hitches and stuff like that. They were not the perfect trails for a truck, but the trucks will fit on it. They were very tight. There's a lot of trees down we had to maneuver around. And our first obstacle, we had a casualty. I'll let you describe this casualty to them since it was yours.
So coming around, it's kind of a steep embank going downhill and a tight turn at the end. It was greater than or less than 90 degrees, I'd say, to make this turn. Keep going, and then all of a sudden, like watching both sides, I'm like, all right, I'll fit. Coming down, staying on the left side as much as possible, and then hidden in the brush. All I feel is my truck stop. I'm like, oh no. So I get out really quick, like thinking it's up on my tire or anything. No, there's probably about a 14-inch diameter tree sticking, well, not sticking, but kind of dinged up my fender and my door a little bit.
A little bit is an understatement.
Well, it pushed the fender into the door. Luckily, the door didn't bend um actually that much. It was mostly the fender took the entire hit. So I need a new front passenger fender. But yeah, so that was the fun part about that. That was probably what, quarter mile into the trail or so.
Yeah, I think we were maybe 30 minutes at the most into that trail. And there was like there were supposed to be three offshoots on our way in, and I didn't see any of them. So I'm not sure if those used to be trails and they just stopped being kept up with, which there was a lot of brush down. So maybe they kind of got, just some stuff grew over and they stopped taking care of them and just said, this will be our main trail. But as we got farther in, we had some confidence because it was, there's a couple of mud holes and tight turns and things like that were kind of fun until we got to the death trap, which was like legitimate rock crawling. Now, I'm not talking like Rubicon Trail rock crawling. There was spaces in them and stuff, but I mean, my old Jeep, I would have questioned going down and definitely would have questioned going up this trail. And by the time we realized what it truly was, Sean was already kind of at a point of no return. We may have been able to get you up, but that would have been a bear and a half to do that. And to turn around and do that trail would have been another 2 hours, 2.5 hours back. So we decided to push on. But there was three directions to get off of this main area we were at. And the first one we saw was very scary looking originally, and it's got rock ledges and step offs that are 2 to 5 feet in height, and there's just scattered huge ditches and ruts from other these rock bouncers or side by sides going up. There's carnage of people's old bumpers and taillights and stuff, and we're like, that's probably not the path we want to take. So I was parked at the top of this hill, and there's an offshoot right next to me that I could try to go down, and then we decided to send Sean down the trail that split off a little further down, and that was really tight because there was a couple of stumps and trees, and that was like a 90-degree turn, and the side that you were turning away from was like just the straight drop down cliff side. So it was really scary to watch. I can't imagine. How are you feeling, going through that spot?
That was a little pucker factor for sure. Just definitely felt the truck leaning a little bit more to one side.
There was 1 to 2 tires off the ground at one point. Your rear driver's side was about 3 feet off the ground, and the front driver's side was probably a couple inches to about a foot off. There was on that trail. There was multiple times when we were trying to spot, and I would run behind a tree because I was sure he was rolling his truck, sure of it.
Yeah, I talk about getting in a tight spot with a full size truck. That was very tight. Now, mind you, I was paying attention to Gaia and Onyx off road. So the road I was like, oh, we'll take this forest road to get to this trail, which they rated this trail only as a 4 out of 10. So it's like, all right, well, we'll take this forest road. Well, apparently this forest road magically turned into this trail that I didn't even see the turn on either one of the GPS systems, because I don't know if it's just how they're marked or whatnot, but I'm like, this is no way this is a Forest Service trail.
It said that school buses were allowed on this trail.
Yes.
It definitely needed some updating because that was like a 7 or an 8 out of 10 trail for sure.
Yeah, it was definitely a Jeep buggy short base or short wheelbase trail for vehicles. I mean, there's definitely a couple awesome power maneuvers with vehicles in the trail.
There definitely was.
But yeah, so what Jake's talking about is we come up to this ledge, and it's almost like a staircase climb of 3 to 4 feet drop offs each time for each step on the way down. And we're like, oh, well, this sucks because like I already went down one. And it was a minimum turnaround area, so it was like Jake was saying, there's a shoot off to the left, there was like another one up by him, and then there was obviously just straight down the way I was already facing. So it's like, all right, we're building up rocks and everything else like that to try and see if we're gonna go, if I'm gonna go ahead and go straight down. And looking at it and thinking about it, it's like, nope. So walked around a little bit. We found the two other alternate routes. We walked them and we saw that they walk all the way around. We're like, okay. Like, well, it's still kind of iffy, but we're gonna do it. It's less scarier than going straight ahead, I guess. So we're doing it, and mind you, I have tow mirrors on my truck, and those things are folded in, and I'm maneuvering it back and forth, taking the tight turns, going down the trails, and like Jake said, the truck was flexing quite a bit. uh, so once, for what I could see, is one of the wheels was the back driver was quite literally off the ground, so it was three wheeling the truck a little bit. And yeah, that was fun. Finally, get down this obstacle course, I guess you could say. Finally make it all the way down, and I make it all the way to where it tees back up with the other side. So run back up, and mind you, there's a couple times we used the traction boards or Max Tracks or the my Amazon knockoff of them, and trust me, they worked. They added a little bit of height on stuff on top of building up some rocks and everything, but they bent a little bit and they held up. They didn't crack or break, so that was the nice part. So anyways, run run back up, grab those boards, and go to help and spot Jake.
I chose the trail up by me because it was only scary looking at the very beginning part. And then after that, it kind of tapered off and got a little bit easier. And watching Sean try and get through a portion with the turns didn't really look appeasing to me, because so the biggest thing that Sean had on me is he has got 12.5-inch wide tires. So his tires stick out. He's got different offset. He's got aftermarket wheels. I have stock wheels and 31.5-inch tires. So they're like half an inch bigger than comes on this truck stock. Okay, so again, a 2.5-inch lift and basically stock tires on this truck. So he was pushing off of rocks and trees without touching his body because his wheels were sticking out, and that was essentially his rock sliders for the most part for the sides. And then he ran over a stump, got hung up on a stump on one part because there's no way to avoid it, and tore the stump out with his whole, the passenger side axle and A-arm with the CV axle that you just replaced. I kept just picturing it in my head.
Still holding up, by the way.
I thought you were going to tear that thing up. But he tore that stump up, and I saw him trying to maneuver and turn and was getting stuck. I was like, man, there's no way. This definitely is a difficult way. Let's go with the path and travel. Let's try this one. I feel good about it. So I started and didn't wait for anybody because I was just like, I need to get this over with. I'm nervous. As it be, I just saw Sean do this. This is a terrifying trail for full-size trucks. So I got down a couple spots, and then they came up and started spotting me. And just with the sliding and the path that you chose, they're like, stop, 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 stop. And I could tell the truck had gotten hung up, and I ended up hitting the bottom half. Well, it's more or less the rocker on the passenger side. I got some scratches on the bottom of the rear door. The cab corner has got some deep gouges and a dent in, and then the fender on the tail, or the bed, sorry, on that passenger side pushed up about half a foot. So I got out, looked at it, realized that I couldn't go backwards. It was going to do more damage. I need to just keep going forward. The damage is already done. Let's hope that the tire pushes me as it makes contact with this rock and just bounces off, and I can keep going. And it worked out. So we got down the rest of that trail, kind of collected our thoughts. I looked at the damage. I pulled my fender back out, and I was like, well, it's not mechanical. It's still driving all right. It's just cosmetic. That's not the worst thing that it could be. We feel like Vikings. We just conquered this rock-crawling trail with full-size trucks that should not be on this trail at all. And we turned the corner, and there's another section just like that one. Not as, I wouldn't say as bad in lengthwise, but it was very severe drops in a short amount of time. And we kind of played with the idea for a little bit. Sean was going to try and go around a tree and come down a straight shot way, but this was one of the points I ran behind a tree and stopped watching him, stopped trying to spot him because the truck was starting to lean down the hill while he was making the turn, and we decided that it was best to go another way. And I'm going to be honest with you, man, I'm very impressed and proud with our, one, driving skills, and two, communication and spotting skills to actually get off of these two crazy rock crawling obstacles. I mean, that's something that I never thought I would do with this truck, and it's stuff that I didn't do a ton with my Jeep because there just wasn't a lot of rock crawling trails that we went to, but the ones that we did, I was a lot more confident because it's a Jeep. It's a shorter wheelbase. I had 37-inch tires on it most of the time that I was doing this stuff. So we got through that section too, and finally got to our end, and that was when we all decided we just wanted flat ground and find a campsite for the night. And we drove around probably, maybe another 45 minutes and ended up finding an awesome campsite right next to a little offshoot creek area and set up.
I was going to say, after coming out of that trail and coming across that creek crossing and seeing all those mobile homes and UTVs, I just a sign of relief.
Oh, yeah, I forgot.
End of that trail. I'm just like, oh, thank God we made it.
We found, the whole time we're doing this rock crawling trail, we kept looking at the map and we're like, the end is right here. You can see it on the map. There's like 500 feet and it's the end, and there's a main trail right here that won't be crazy. It's here. So that kept motivating us, and we knew we couldn't turn around. It was too late, and by the time Sean had done his first section, it was too late for us to really turn around. And then after both of us did that whole part, it was like, well, there's no going back now for sure. But we turned off that hard trail onto a main one, which is still pretty rural for most of what we were taking. It was still an actual trail, but it just wasn't crazy. We passed a side-by-side, which we thought was good news, found the river, and across the river, like you said, there was a bunch of RVs and trucks with trailers, and we're like, we did it! We made it out! We're going to live!
Oh.
That was such relief.
I will take going out to Colorado and doing Imogene Pass before that trail again.
I'm telling you, that was a very, very technical trail. And I will tell you all listening, if we would have found that trail from the other way, we would have stopped immediately because that was the gatekeeper. That was the trail that was going to stop us. We were going to see those parts and say, no, we can't do this, and turn around. The one that we were on split off onto this trail, but there was no offshoots where they were supposed to be. So there wasn't, once we started this trail, it just still kept, it seemed like it was the same. And we're like, okay, this has got to be right. And it was definitely not right. Knock on wood, thank God, we just came away with cosmetic damage, and now yours is definitely more severe than mine just because it's a fender. I mean, mine's not bad at all by any means. It's pretty rough. It's going to need some work for sure, but mine's kind of pushed off to the side, and once I kind of cleaned it up, it wasn't as bad as I originally thought it was. It still isn't okay, but I'll take that over the fender on you any day. So I do feel bad for you because I was laughing, and then all of a sudden, bam! There goes my fender.
Well, so that's the thing that kind of irritates me a little bit is I didn't get it on any of that course. I got it from taking a turn. Just a tree.
You hit a tree. Mine got hurt in battle. Yours was like, oh hey, here's this down tree, and you thought you were far enough away, but this is a tight trail, and it just shoved you into it. But I mean, still looks cool. You're still like, yeah, look at this trail damage I got on my truck. This is real cool. I mean, I will tell you, I feel worse for me in a way because my truck is going to be with me for a while still. So I have to live with this for a very long time. Your truck you've had for 10 years. So to not have fucked it up in 10 years is awesome. It took you 10 years to do this. It took me 9 months to fuck this truck up. 9 months. So I don't know what that means for me in the future, but I hope it simmers down now. I don't plan on finding these trails anytime soon. But that night was our night that we were planning on doing this podcast. And obviously, we were out on this trail. We probably are on that trail for almost 4 hours by the end of it
Oh, yeah, I
because
wanted to get out and film. It's just
we were we were
we were
so
too.
strained and there was a lot of thought and stress that I mean, my dad was out the whole time and he took some pictures, but not what he was taking before. We were all just in a different mindset, and it was one of those things where it's like, man, it would have been so cool to see all that stuff happening, but we were so focused on just getting out of there, like, okay, not being stuck, not breaking stuff horribly.
Yeah, we are locked in. Our mindset was locked in. Let's get through this. Let's not waste any time.
Which you can see I mean, if you go on Instagram and TikTok and that, we've posted some pictures and videos and stuff, but you can see where, there's a bunch of pictures of easy stuff and very relaxed trails and beautiful views, and then all of a sudden they just stop, and then it's like the end of the trip. And there's like an 8-hour period that was not documented, but it's documented in my brain, but it's not.
Oh yeah.
That,
And of course, my GoPro battery died and everything else. Then when
I know, it was perfect timing.
I mean, I had another battery. I just didn't think about switching it. I was so focused and locked in on how can I make it through this without the least amount of damage on my vehicle and not breaking something, because I already suffered a damage to the passenger side and the fender, and
just surviving, that was our goal. And I will say that was probably our payback, because we were the whole time, and I don't mean it mean to them, because they were an awesome group of people that we were with. They had some cool vehicles. They were all beginners, and I can't fault them for that. And the trail ride that they had set up and this whole plan was awesome. He did a great job of setting everything up. All the pictures that we saw after we kind of left from them looked so cool, and everybody had nothing but good things to say about it. But me and Sean were kind of bantering back and forth to each other like, oh my gosh, this is a crazy trail. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Because both of us have done more. This is inherently a beginner's trail. So we kind of knew beforehand that this is what we were going to get. But I thought it was going to be a little bit more. Obviously, we got more than we bargained for at the end. But so we were talking on our GMSRs, and they had the walkie-talkies. So we didn't think anybody was listening to us. And we were, oh man, look at this trail. I bet we're going to stop and get through this hole. It's going to take each of us 20 minutes, joking around. And at one point we said something and somebody came on the radio and said, did we lose people? Are you back there still? And we're like, they're on the channel the whole time. And like, we deserved the damage on our vehicles from that. That was our payback.
what comes around goes around.
And like I said, they were really nice people. Everybody we talked to was awesome. They had cool vehicles. I definitely would take trips with them again. But next time we won't let the curiosity get us. We're just going to stick with the beginner's trail and follow what they have planned, instead of being like, man, let's just go adventure and find these crazy trails. Because we got a crazy trail, that's for sure.
I just do a little bit more research
But that,
looking at stuff. But
like the thing
I just wanted, I mean, theirs was flat forest roads. I mean, they had really pretty views and stuff like that, but I wanted to do more water crossings and just a little bit of technical stuff. Not like what we got into, but just maybe like 3 or 4 rating, I guess you could say. Not 10.
well, and that was the thing, is they did have a couple of water crossing, which were cool, obviously, and they had a lot of cool sights, and there was stuff. I think we were both just like eager to get moving and not stop so much. And we actually, our lunch spot, we wouldn't have gotten if we didn't split off. It was off the main trail, and it was a pretty steep climb up, which was actually, that was about the difficulty I was looking for. So it wasn't easy, but it wasn't something our trucks couldn't do. It took a little bit of mental power, and trucks had to be in 4-wheel drive. But we got up to this beautiful view and had lunch just like overlooking the Ozark forest and the mountains, and it was so cool. And there's a bunch of pictures of that, because we were in a great mindset at that point.
Oh, especially like with the rock face behind us and everything else like that. That was just, I'm glad we stopped there and went up that hill. It's just watching the video with the drone, it just looks like a regular trail with a slight incline.
I'm so disappointed.
When you're going up it, you're looking at the sky.
I want all y'all to know that I made my dad get out and film us on that hill, and he almost died climbing up the hill. It was extremely steep, and we climbed down halfway to meet him, and us walking back up, we were tired on halfway on the hill. So it was a steep hill. I promise you, it was a very steep hill. But I marked that on my Gaia for a campsite. So if I ever go back, I'll probably end up camping there one night just because it would be a great sunset and sunrise to see. And I marked the campsite that we camped at that second night too, obviously, because that was a pretty good spot. And it was a nice one to be like, okay, we're close enough to the road here. We can just get out and go. We don't have to be driving miles through this forest to find our way.
Yeah, I like the second campsite night. I cannot talk. Our campsite the second night after a rough day like that was on the other side of the creek, and it was kind of close to the road, so you had easy access in and out if you wanted to. It was quiet, relaxing in the creek bed was amazing after that day.
Oh, that was so nice. We all jumped in the creek and swam around in it for a while, and it wasn't 100 degrees out, but it was about 85, 90 degrees, so it was kind of warm, and that was honestly one of the most refreshing feelings in the world. But and we had steaks that night, and we none of us really had more than like one or two beers because we were all so freaking tired. I think at like 8:30, 9 o'clock, I stood up and threw a bunch of the wood in there. Like, yeah, do it. Throw all the wood in there. Let's just get this fire going and go to bed and be done with all of this.
That's what 9:30. We were all in bed, and all of a sudden, 1:30, your dad gets up and does something.
So did I ever tell you all that happened there?
No.
Okay, so our first night, and bless his soul, I'll tell you, he's not an outdoorsman. He can handle it, he can rough it, he can get through it, but he's definitely a man of comfort and luxury now. He's earned it. He's gotten to that point. He's had some roughing trips, he's had stuff like that. But so the first night we're in the Ozarks, and we're all, originally from up north. We're in the north where there's not a lot of predators. So the Ozark National Forest has, mountain lions, we have black bears, you have all that there. So I told him the first night, I said, listen, we're around a bunch of people tonight, so it's not as big of a deal, but if I don't wake up and you hear something that sounds big walking around our campsite, wake me up so we can shut the tailgate and the cap so like nothing can get us because there are black bears here, there are mountain lions. And I said the black bears are getting close to hibernation, so they're going to be a little bit more curious. I don't think they're going to bother us, but I'm just giving you a warning ahead of time. So I think I freaked him out because the second night where we actually primitive camped away from people, and we were still close to the road, so it wasn't like we were so far out. Like I've done a lot deeper, scarier woods than that, but like we went to bed, and when I went to use the bathroom, I saw two eyes back in the forest. I was like, oh man, there's something out there right now. I see two glowing eyes. But so we're in my cap sleeping because me and him slept in the back of the truck. And I put little stick-on lights, like shower lights or closet lights that you just click a button and they turn on onto the roof inside so you can see at night. So there's one over our heads. There's one in our feet. So we go to bed. The truck bed is open. I rolled the windows down in the actual cab of the truck, and we have the two middle windows in between the truck cab and the topper open, and that's where I put my Milwaukee fan at night so it can draw in some cool air from outside in the cab into the topper with us, and just kind of, there's a whole circulation going on. Well, we're close to the woods, so there's a bunch of bugs in there all around us and everything. We've got the mosquito net on the back of the topper, where it's wide open, but I don't have anything obviously in the cab of the truck, and I've got the windows open, but usually they don't. You may get one or two, but they don't usually come through the pass by because the fan's there and it keeps them away, or they wander out that way instead. So at 1:30, the truck is rocking, and I hear him making all kinds of noise, and he's like yanking on the light above our heads. And I roll over. I'm like, what in the world are you doing right now? And he's like, there's an animal in there. There's something in here. It keeps getting me. And I'm like, what? What are you doing? He's like yanking the light. I'm like, it's a light. You're grabbing the light. He yanks it down, rips the batteries out, like disassembles the whole thing. And like, I get where he was at in his state of mind. He was still in like that, like dream state. Like he'd just woken up and like he couldn't figure out it was reality now. Like he was awake. He wasn't dreaming anymore. So like he confused. You're freaking out like when you have a nightmare when you first wake up. So like he calmed down. He's like, there's an animal in here. I felt it sniffing and touching my hand like 3 or 4 times, and it finally woke me up, and it's freaking me out. There's something in here. It's got to be like a raccoon or something. And I I turned the light on. I was like, it's a moth. There's a moth in here. It keeps just laying on your hand. It's okay. It's just a moth. So I got up. And he's like, how are they getting moth? We have the mosquito net. And I was like, the cab is open. All the windows are down. So I'm trying not to wake Sean up, but like I'm getting out. I've got my flashlight, so it's shining all around and everything. And I turn it into the cab of the truck, and it's like infested with moths. I don't know why they went in there. There was not a light in there ever. Like the only light was the refrigerator light, which is a very dull blue light. So it's not like it's attracting anything. The moonlight through the trees is brighter than that. So we've got. I opened the door, and because the dome lights turn on when you open the door, they start flapping all around and hit me in my face and everything. So I had to turn the dome light off, and I'm shutting the door to let it go off. So you hear slam. So I know that woke you up. And I'm trying to sit in there for a second, and I'm clearing the moths out and everything, and I turn the cab light back on, like 3, 4 of them flying. I got to shut the door again, turn it off, and then I turn the key so you can hear the truck start beeping and the fuel pump prime and everything, and it beeps. So I rolled the windows back up, got most of them out, shut the door, and then Sean comes out of his tent, and he's like, well, what's going on? And I was like, he's just afraid of moths. I have to get the moths out of here. And at like 7:30 or something, you had mentioned that you're like, if something wakes me up tonight, or I just wake up and it's like 2 o'clock in the morning, I'm probably just going to get up and leave because I've got a 10.5 hour drive home. So if you hear the truck start, I'm not running from anything. I'm just going home. I'm packed up. So like I got back in bed, simmered down a little bit, turned, and I can see Sean's light kind of flying around a little bit. And he's on the other side of the truck, and I hear some noises, but I thought you were just going to the bathroom. But you had like cleaned up the whole campsite, packed up your truck, and we're like, had moved, you turned it on. I was like, oh, you are really leaving. You moved it because you were parked on those Max Tracks, or the fake ones. And
You have to level out the truck.
I mean, it was probably 10, 15 minutes. I mean, in pitch black at 2 o'clock in the morning, you had packed up your truck and everything in 15 minutes, and we're just like, wow, gone. I was like, damn, that was really impressive.
I got my setup all down and dialed in. I mean, it's super easy with that rooftop tent.
And so that's what I think. Maybe 10 minutes later, I said out loud when you left, I was like, man, I guess he was really serious. He's leaving. Well, it's like, oh, he did leave, didn't he? I was like, yeah, he took off. He took off. He's gone.
I left then, and then I didn't get home till 2 o'clock ish.
That's rough. I know how you feel now because I left at 9 p.m. from Wisconsin the other night and got home at like 10 a.m. and it freaking sucked.
Yeah, I'm like, because I'm like, oh well, maybe I'll just sleep all night and leave at 7 a.m. or whatever at first light or whatever, and just thinking about like I want to get home, take a shower, relax, decompress a little bit, especially after what just happened.
Well, and that was so I laid back down. And it was like 10 minutes, and I was like, man, I'm wide awake. You know, I'm still adrenalized from the moth incident, him waking me up, freaking me up.
Those dangerous moths, I tell you, they're out to get you.
And I kind of like did a loud sigh, and he's like, is everything okay? I was like, I'm not going to fall asleep for another hour and a half. I said, and by the time I do, we're going to get, 45 minutes to an hour of sleep, and I'm going to want to get on the road, and we might as well have left early. He goes, oh, I'm so glad you said that. I cannot sleep tonight. I'm freaked. I'm paranoid tonight because these woods are right here. I think there's something out there. If you want to go, I'm fine with that. It's like, all right, let's just go. Let's just be done. So, I mean, I think it took us 5-10 minutes to pack up too, and we hit the road. We were home by about 6 a.m., something like that. So it was really nice. I was in my bed at 7 o'clock because I dropped him off in Germantown, drove up to my house, and that was honestly a very fun trip, even with all the crazy, horrible things that can happen and did happen. Those honestly make the best trips, man. Now we've got some crazy memories, and you're going to always remember this trip.
Oh, I can tell you, I'm comfortable going anywhere with you now, spotting and driving our trucks.
Dude, that was awesome. That was really good. Like, I think that was, I've taken some crazy trips, but like you and I have never done anything crazy like that. And now like, it's like, okay, let's do it. We're ready. We can handle this.
Oh, yeah. I definitely got to keep my eye out a little bit more on some tire trails. I'll tell you that for sure.
So tell me because what are we at? We're at 44 minutes. I mean, this can be a longer episode anyways because we missed last week. But so tell me your top 3 takeaways from this trip? They could be good, they could be bad, they could be needs or weaknesses you see in your vehicle, but just top three things that you are gonna think about now for the next trip.
So my takeaway is I know my truck's very capable of some pretty, I don't want to say it's rock climbing, but pretty aggressive departure and approach angles, that's for sure. Without the most I've noticed that my truck did was scrape the bottom of the frame rail. And I mean, I have lower points than that, which I don't know how they didn't scrape or anything, and just might have been how the truck was positioned at that time and anything. But going off some 4 foot to 5 foot drop offs with rocks and not really scraping anything. I know you did a little bit, but that was just on your frame, and your truck is a little bit lower than mine. But I'm like surprised at how capable a full size truck like that is.
Oh yeah, I mean I can't believe it. Our trucks went through things that anybody online that you would have talked to would have said they would never have gotten through, and I would have
That's
said that too before we did.
I I would have never done that. I mean, we had no choice to do it, but it's at that point where it's like I kind of wish could have got out and videoed it, but at the same time, like I said, mindset was not there. It was just to try and get out. But I just truck is very capable, and I'm very happy with it. I'm happy that how I built it is capable for getting in a situation like that and knowing that I can get out of it. That's the I'm very happy with that. Another thing is, I don't know how comfortable I would have been with anybody else because I know your experience of off-roading and hitting some trails like that. I'm glad it was you and not somebody else with me getting stuck there. Or, I mean, I'm not don't have many people that go out and do this type of stuff. But I'm just glad it was you to guide and everything else, and then also the third person there, your dad, just has an extra set of eyes just to see things that you can't see while you're telling me which way to go. He's looking at the truck a different angle and going, "Hold on, stop. Why don't we try and reposition really quick? Because if you go down, you're gonna hit this."
It was nice. Honestly, it was nice having a third person, very impartial too. You know, because obviously you were leading the way most of the time, so you were a guinea pig in a way. Like, okay, is this going to work? And then having him there, not really have any grit in either of our vehicles. I mean, obviously he wants them to make it home, but he was kind of just like, hey, this is kind of right here. I don't know if you can see that or if you know about that or if like you just are planning on that, but I'm just letting you know.
So nonchalant about it. It's just like, yeah, by the way, I don't know, but hey.
And then at the end, he was like, I didn't really want to guide you guys because I didn't want to be responsible for anybody's truck to be broken. And we're like, listen, we knew there was going to be damage at this point. we were just trying to get out. And that was one thing too, like experience in a way. Like he said too, I didn't know what we were going to do if we were going to have to hike down the trail and find someone to come get a tow truck to get it out. We didn't want to hurt it. And I said to him too, I was like, that's one of those lose-lose situations. You just might as well get yourself out if you're not stuck because a tow truck or somebody else is going to end up breaking your vehicle anyways. So you might as well do it on your own dime instead of having somebody else come out to help you that may cost money or may wreck it more by forcing it through something that it may not be able to go through. So it's kind of one of those, it's a stupidity thing, but an experience where it's like, okay, well, we have to do this. We have to get these out where we are at a point where we're stuck, literally, like legitimately stuck on this trail if we don't force ourselves to just accept the consequences and go.
I'm just glad between the three of us, we were able to problem shoot it and get us out of there. Not to mention, though, on top of the truck being capable of going down, I also got to drive all the way home without any problems.
That's a win right there.
The truck is if you guys don't know, it's a 2013 Silverado Z71. Have a 3.5-inch rough country lift on it with some 33 by 1250 Nitto ridge grapplers wrapped with some black rhinos. I forgot the exact wheel name, but I mean, set up for what we just went through. To me, it's dialed in.
I would say so. I would say that that definitely could be one of your takeaways. That for 99% of what we are going to do, you're set. You're good. You're golden. I'll tell you that my three takeaways: one, don't listen to anybody on Amazon and the off-road pages that say that those knockoff Amazon Max Trax boards do not work and they crack on the first try, because they saved us multiple times. And I mean saved us as in they took so much weight and abuse that I thought for sure they were going to break, and they never did. I mean, they were bending. You could see them bending, and they went right back to their form. They didn't crack. It helped me off a rock that I got high centered on. It added that just extra couple inches I needed. That's probably going to be my next purchase. I'm not going to lie, because it was just it was just a night. It was a lifesaver for a couple of things, and for the price. Like, I get a lot of people. I'm sure the Max Trax are better. I'm not going to argue with you there. I know the Max Trax are going to last better, but the way that you take care of yours, you take them off, you leave them in your garage, they don't sit out in the sun, and how we just used them, I think that as long as you are keeping them out of the elements when they're not in use, they're going to last you, multiple trips with abuse. And I mean, we just proved it right there. That was amazing. I mean, you need to go on Amazon and review those.
Yeah, for $80, I think they were. They held up really well. Like you said, my truck went over them first. You saw them bend completely, and then your truck went right over them, and we used them the whole way down to lessen the drop off and everything else like that. We stacked them, and then I still use them for leveling the truck out at camping at night.
My next my next point is that my truck still needs upgrades, and by upgrades I need rock sliders 100%. I need skid plates 100%, and I need if I had put my wheels on, if I had bought the tires for those new wheels and had those on for that trip, I think it would have been easier, because I'm going to 34s. So that would have gotten me an extra 3 inches of clearance, and I would have been where you're at. And I think I would have gotten through everything just as easily as you did. The rock sliders would have kept me from getting any of the damage. And the skid plates, I didn't get any damage underneath, but good Lord, the peace of mind that would have been brought with those skid plates. I mean, I've got a poly gas tank under there, and that's one of the lowest spots on that truck. I know that gas tank was riding the rocks. I don't know how it didn't puncture or break or crack or anything. I mean, it may have, and I just don't know. It hasn't gotten a big enough leak, but I mean, I need skid plates at least for the gas tank, the transfer case, and the front. And the third and final thing that I will say I learned from this trip, and I haven't looked at the newer Tundras. I don't know the brand new ones, so I can't tell you for sure. But come on, Toyota, what are you thinking putting the hitch pin connectors, the light connectors, at the same height as the damn hitch? Because every time that the hitch would hit the ground, my plastic case holding the pin connectors was just bent up to the sky. I think I bent that thing down 5 or 6 times, and I don't know how it didn't break or rip the cords or bend any of the pins, because I pulled the trailer right afterwards when we got back home. But why would you put it down there? It's integrated in the bumper in every other truck. Like, the metal can take the abuse, that plastic cannot. Oh my gosh, that was a big worry the whole time too.
Uh, Doing that, I know I'm gonna get, I guess you could say a trailer hitch skid plate. 589 Fabrication makes them for Colorados and Silverados.
I actually just came across those. I didn't know those were a thing until the other day. I looked up, I found the skid plates I'm going to buy, and they have a skid plate for the hitch plate. I was like, that's crazy to think that they make those, but it's honestly a good idea, because I'm sure after so much abuse that thing's going to start getting a lot more wear on it. But I don't know if I'll buy one of those yet, but definitely for the gas tank and the transfer case are going to be number one.
Oh yeah, I want to buy skid plates for my truck too. I mean, I just got the plastic ones that the Z71 style, but it's just like, all right, come on.
Well, that's it. I mean, we could go on and on about this trip for some more. This is just kind of a basic overview of it, but for those of you listening, you can take slightly modified to more modified full-size trucks on some crazier trails than you think. I'm not advocating for you to do it So don't take that. This is the warning. Don't take your truck off road like we just did. But I'm saying that they're a lot more capable than you think you are. They are. And if anything, this should show some people, because like I said, my truck's just got a 2.5 inch, little strut kit. You take your vehicles out and use them before you start doing modifications to them, because you're going to really see your weak points and see where you do want to spend money and where you don't necessarily need to spend money. But I mean, it was a good trip. I think we learned some stuff. We built some confidence for ourselves. We've got some battle scars now, some stories to talk about. I'm still planning on doing a walk around on my truck, even though it's not that exciting, and I'm still trying to get that on YouTube. So just bear with us. We're still kind of getting our schedules in, and I'm almost done with all my classes for this year again, finally. So I'll actually have some free time now. But you have anything else to say, Sean?
I just kind of update of new stuff coming out there. I know you don't have it, but I have T-Mobile, and I just got a little notification saying that T-Mobile is now teaming up with SpaceX for going for coverage above and beyond. Not quite sure what everything entails. It's still kind of new, and I'm just kind of trying to find some stuff to read on it. But inform you, it seems like they're gonna kind of go with using some data with Starlink.
I actually saw. I didn't see that, but I saw the new iPhone is going to have some kind of satellite or GPS function in it available
So
to you.
that is gonna allow you to use your SOS thing anytime with satellite. So like your little what's that satellite phone you have?
The Spot X.
Yep. So like your Spot X, when you hit your SOS button, and all the emergency systems come and everything, that's just what the iPhone 14 is gonna have. Now this T-Mobile SpaceX thing is completely different for what it looks like, but still kind of neat that if you do have a 14 and you're say out in the middle of nowhere with no service, and you don't have one of those GPS things for an SOS, that you can still use your phone.
I think there's a lot more stuff coming out, which will be interesting. I think we'll have to make an episode about some of this technology for sure, and go over that.
Oh yeah, I'll have to look a little bit more into this T-Mobile thing too, because I'm kind of excited since I have T-Mobile. But yeah, I mean, I still gotta get the video of my truck out there. I know you said in the last loan podcast that I have one. I s- we're still learning on how to edit some videos. I mean, we could just throw them up there and be raw video stuff, but we kind of want to give you guys a little bit more and kind of more professional look. So, I mean, everything just as anything else takes a little bit of time, but we're trying. We appreciate you guys patient with us and still listening to us and waiting for those videos. And sorry for not such the great video that's possibly going to come out for the Ozarks and the trail that we just took, but we'll get it out there.
Like you said, just bear with us. We're still working our way up there. And thanks for listening. And as always, check out our socials: Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, TikTok, all that stuff. And keep listening. Like, subscribe, leave a review for us. That'd be awesome too. And we will talk to y'all next week.
Thanks again.